Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of TokuSake, the first of the new year. I'm Matt and I'm here along with...
Sake Rider!
Mhm.
Sake Rider! Hoo!
So you've already... So you now, Tristan understands why I and many people out there are enamored by Kamen Rider, because Tristan's not really, as some of you longer time fans know, Tristan's the sake guy, I'm the Choku guy. So when I tell him, hey, I'm into Kamen Rider, and he's like, what's that? And I show him Kamen Rider, he's like, oh, this vaguely reminds me of Godzilla. But it didn't really, click with you. I would argue it clicked once you really saw, Kuga. You were like, ah, I get it. Because, I've shown you some Kamen Rider here or there, and, you like the fight scenes, but, in a general sense, you're like, yeah, no, this is the stuff that Matt likes, right?
Yeah.
But now that you've seen Takeshi Hongo in all of his glory and all of his majesty, you're like, oh, never mind, I get it. Because today we are talking about Kamen Rider 1971, episodes 1 and 2. We'll talk about the sakes that we have a little bit later on in the episode. So, no, but really though, Tristan, do you get it now?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I said to you is I finished the first episode and I'm like, alright, we're running a bit fast and loose as to, what we're doing and why we're here, but damn it if that suit and bike haven't grown on me.
Yes, and so now you say that because, do you think that Shocker should have had some more depth to what the fuck's going on, or were you because I think it was nice, it was fast paced, they tell you what their motives are, you just know that they're bad guys, they're clearly Nazis, and they're trying to take the people that they consider to be the best of the best, cream of the crop, experiment on them so that they could rule with them, and everyone else subjugate, genocide, all that stuff. But you think that you want your villains to have more kind of depth to them, or
I could have used a little bit more build up, I think,
mm-hmm.
but this is also, like you said, 71, so I'm not looking for the most in-depth thing here.
Yeah, well, it's 71 TV budget, and they did not expect this to go for 91 episodes, and now being a 50-year-old show, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Not consecutively, like something like Super Sentai, but which came only a few years after. But this comes out in 71. I think, if I remember correctly, they expected this to run for 13 episodes, and obviously, it did pretty well. And it ran for a lot longer. And, of course, with all the sequel shows and spin-offs and crossovers and all that stuff. But, initially this was just a story of Takeshi Hongo. The professor, seemingly from the looks of it, set him up to be turned into a cyborg, but did it to try to help him and just generally humanity by overthrowing Shocker. But he still arguably put him in the line of fire, and it goes to show, by recommending him.
Right, yeah. I feel like he recommended him because he's like, oh, he's, the perfect specimen of man.
Yes, yes.
And then realized, oh no, I've taken this young man's life away from him. What the fuck have I done?
Because I think he thought it would have happened much sooner. So, once you're, really, realizing, no, you're on the lam.
Yeah.
You can't really do much, and now he's like, wait, so can I never turn back? And he's like, I did not think we'd be having this conversation. I thought we'd be having, yay, we destroyed the Nazis.
Right, yeah.
I thought we'd be having that conversation.
But yeah, I definitely, it's a sci-fi action thriller, and it's funny, I really got a vibe of, very Doctor Who-esque.
Yeah, Doctor Who, Star Trek.
Right, a little more action-oriented, obviously, but, definitely the sci-fi elements.
Of
as
classic
well as,
Who.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as I kind of, put it that way, put my mindset into, classic Who, I'm like, nah, you know what, this is dope, let's go.
Yeah, because, your exposure to Tokusatsu was, Kamen Rider and Power Rangers a little bit back in the day, but more now. So, you're thinking, all right, this is either, a daytime drama, or it's, for kids in a way that's hey, guys, we're gonna make the rec center be good for everyone. And here it's just we have destroyed your mind. We will destroy your mind with Nazi technology. And you're like, okay, fuck, all right. Here we are,
All right.
I guess.
Yeah. Ha! You say you're going to destroy my mind with Nazi with Nazi mind control. However, did you think I wouldn't throw you onto the pavement first off the third story?
Yeah, so
Wait, what?
this is a children's show, and they literally had the guy splat on the fucking pavement. So
Yeah, as soon as I saw the guy splat on the pavement, I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
it's been a while, so I forgot about two things. I forgot about the splat on the
Oh.
pavement, and I forgot about the fact that episode 2, they're like, we have created a virus. And I'm like, get the fuck out. It's not, this is not the time for that kind of talk. It's
Yeah.
2021. Let's not do this.
Oh God. Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way.
Oh, that's oh yeah,
funny.
no, that's why I was like, let's
Right.
like
Not now. Please, please,
al-
not now.
although I love that, I just love that literally you have Takeshi Hongo being like, well, wait a minute, hold on. You're telling me that it's in your body? Yes. Specifically the talon? Yes. Guess I have to rip out your fucking talon.
You
Like,
get closer to me even against your boss's wishes. I can't beat the shit out of you from over here.
it's fucking hilarious. Like the whole it was just beautiful because, like, in that situation he's just like, wait, you've literally given me the entire plot, thanks bud.
Then the battle is already won. Wait, what's he mean? Oh God!
Throwing me onto the fucking pavement, shit.
Yeah, by the end of the second episode, I'm like, all right, I'm here for this.
Exactly. It's so it's so much fun, and also the fact that when you look at how early this is in the creation of this entire franchise, you notice that there aren't rider punches and rider kicks. They're not doing certain series staples. They're not using a lot of stock footage. They are doing certain 1970s toku effects of, like, speeding up the footage when necessary, slowing it down, doing quick
Right,
cuts
yeah.
with the makeup, stuff that I enjoy. But again, stuff that's you'd see throughout the Showa era of Kamen Rider. But it's just, and also some Super Sentai as well. But what's just very interesting to me is, again, how they don't really have, other than like rider throw, I don't remember them saying the words rider kick and rider punch
No,
outside of the opening.
right, which was funny because I was waiting for that. I'm like, oh, he's gonna do the thing, and I'm like, oh, he didn't say it.
No, like he literally did a rider throw in Kainen before a rider punch
Right,
or
no,
rider
he,
kick,
yeah, right, yeah, he did that first.
which is hilarious. That's not a thing. Rider throw is not a fucking thing,
He's
Tristan.
not a fucking thing.
No, like but it's just so interesting to see that, and also so interesting to see how these monsters are more like, we were talking about this before the episode. You said the word, you coined it, so I want to give you credit. Generals, instead of just being like, I was telling you, like, normally monsters are like at the whim, just like the little grunts, like, putties or the lucha libre style shocker grunts of later on in the series. They're like,
Right.
really, just there to be like e or boo, 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 boo. But in this case, it's like, yeah, the grunts are real people. You see their faces, makeup up, but they're real people, and they're
Right.
being led by the monsters who are just sitting back, like, so are they in position? And it's very much like a military style organization rather than
Yeah,
just being like,
it does feel very secret society, a military group. Yeah.
which I think is so interesting. As much as I love magic, style villains, and I love villains that are a bit more out there, space pirates, all that weird shit. I love it, but it's so interesting to see it be very grounded and make it feel like you're
Right.
watching people who could actually die and get hurt, rather than, oh no, they're going to be fine, I'm sure. In this case, you didn't really know, outside of Rider 1, Takeshi Hongo, outside of Kamen Rider, you don't really know who's going to live or die, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, you assume, oh no, like, I know, that Tachibana is one of his best friends. I know that he has cameoed in other shows, but you don't really know that watching. Like, you're watching this and you're like, everyone seems like they're up for grabs.
Yeah, I thought the professor's daughter was about to fucking kill him because she thought he was Hongo. When in the second episode, when she goes into the apartment complex and she picks up the vase, I'm like, oh dear God, she's gonna kill her boss.
Right, right. So, and of course, Tachibana is such a bad liar. It's hilarious. He's like, oh, I shouldn't have let that random man who I do not know, who is not Takeshi Hongo, escape.
Let me rub my pipe all over my face and look away and look very, very, very incriminating.
I mean, he's a bad liar.
I mean, yeah.
And hell, even the assassination attempt in the second episode. I mean, you literally have some girl kiss Takeshi on the cheek, making it look like, oh, it's how cute is it? And of course, you have Tachibana being like, all right, I want to get in between you two. And then in the mirror, like it's the way the scenes were shot.
Oh, I didn't put that two and two together. Tachibana is his trainer for the motocross stuff, right?
And also the boss,
Okay.
yes.
That's how. Yeah, I knew it was. I knew he was Riku.
Yes,
No.
everyone knows each other.
Right.
They
Okay.
just don't know it. They just don't know it initially. But no, everyone. He runs the Amigo, the coffee
Right.
shop.
Yeah, he runs the cafe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Tachibana knows Hongo from the
Racing.
yeah, from racing.
No,
Okay.
everyone does a lot of shit.
Yeah, because at first I didn't realize how they knew each other. Because when he hands over, the professor's daughter, like, oh, keep her safe. I'm like, wait, how the fuck do you know this guy?
Yes. So they all knew each other, and clearly, I assume he does something at the university. I don't think they said he goes to the university, but that he knows professors there, and that's how they were like trying to see like, oh, what's going on with this virus. And we already knew from Shocker, oh, it's sound waves, but he didn't know that,
Right.
so he learns it from that guy, and he's like, thank you for telling me this. And then he goes over to the Amigo, and then it's like, oh, some random stranger said he was being followed by two shady characters. I guess that must be
Right.
you two, huh? And
Spot on. Yeah, you.
it was great. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, you're jumping. This is the first time. Again, everything's coming at you fast. You're also drinking some wonderful sake. Uh, but so far out of everything we've talked about, as much as I love Kuga, comparing it to, I hate it because we went over like holiday specials for Power Rangers, so I don't want to disparage the Rangers. I don't want to disparage them, but I mean, this hit differently.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, this definitely has a darker tone to it, but not so dark. Like I said, it feels like Doctor Who. Doctor Who doesn't shy away from, death on screen, but it's also not the main focus of the show either.
Yeah,
Like there's
outside of the blood, I think you
yeah,
could show this to a kid and they'll be like, "Oh, it's scary," but not like,
right. Give
not
them
like
like or inappropriate for
Nightmare on
yeah.
Elm Street.
Yeah, no, definitely not that level of we'll watch this when you're older.
Exactly. Like, and I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, "No, I saw it as a kid and you're probably fine." But
Probably.
you've probably made it out okay. But you remember those weeks of nightmares? I feel like Kamen Rider will give a kid maybe like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, because that bat monster, holy shit.
Oh yeah, no, that Bat Monster was fucking horrifying.
And what I love too is the makeup.
Batman really let himself go.
Yeah, Batman, Bruce Wayne, when he lost all his money.
He kind of went batshit, if you know what I mean.
Oh, oh,
I
God,
will see myself out.
you should, but I feel like Bruce would call it taking a bat shit, and they're like, dude, you have a serious problem. Seek help. Bat help? Get the fuck out, Bruce.
Bruce, how many times do we have to have this fucking conversation?
Um, but yeah, no. So I do believe it is not by accident that Spider-Man and Batman are both the first two villains, foreign heroes that are fighting the Japanese hero, Kamen Rider. Remember that Spider-Man and Batman were already out by this time, I believe. I know Batman was at
Right.
least. Batman is from the 40s. I want to make sure, though, I'm not talking out of my ass when it comes to Spider-Man, one of my favorite heroes. So let me
And I
make
mean,
sure here.
yeah, like I don't think these villains are supposed to be allusions to those characters. I think they're
Oh, no,
just
I
like,
believe
oh,
it.
okay,
No, no, dude. No, no, no. Not in terms of their style of costume. No, 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 no.
yeah,
But literally, their names are quite literally in Japanese Batman and Spider Man.
yeah.
And
I mean,
Spider Man came out in 62, and there's a Japanese Spider Man Tokusatsu series that came out around the time V3 came out, which is the next Kamen Rider series after Kamen Rider 1971. And
right,
also, Batman came out in the 40s. So let's not act like Japan was like, like just because, like, they are an island doesn't mean that they're so secluded that they don't know Batman and Spider Man. So I would argue that in a way it is kind of interesting. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that because I believe these two might have been from because I think, yeah, you don't know this, Tristan. Shotaro Ishinomori actually created this as a manga first. Same thing, he did a manga version of Super Sentai. So that's why a
Oh,
lot of it is action packed, very like, you know, you being a fan of anime, you see this and you're like, oh, this really jives well. It's like, it really is like a live action version of an anime or a manga, because in a way
yeah.
it is. And Shotaro Ishinomori also ended up doing, I want to make sure I get all of them. I mean, some of them you might not know, but some of them you've definitely heard of, even if you haven't read. So things like Cyborg 009,
Yes.
Genma Wars, The Skull Man. Also, he did the manga, sadly, before he passed. He did, I know, like, they had, like, manuscripts. Actually, no, it was way before he passed. Never mind. But he had Kamen Rider Black and ZO, which I showed you. ZO, that was the one where it was like the kid with the music box, and then like it was like the weird like little kid slime creature, and then ZO was like, just, it wasn't the one with like the weird grasshopper that was like Jay. It wasn't that one. It was the one with like the dad and the son having like a weird relationship. Do you remember ZO at all or no? Because I showed it to you. It was a really cool fight scene at the end.
Right. I'm trying to compartmentalize all of the descriptions that you just gave me. I'm
Was
like, should I have someone type this out and read it back to him as
some,
he's saying this to me?
someone who's a Kamen Rider ZO fan is like, that is accurate and yet sad. That like it's just so true. But like, how do you? Um, Yeah, Zio. Funnily enough, random weird fact about Kamen Rider Zio. It was there was a game that came out on the Sega CD with clips from the movie,
Huh.
and so like they used like live action clips from the movie because it's a Sega CD game, and so it came out in the U.S. as Masked Rider Zio, which Kamen does mean masked. But then what did they
Right.
do with the live action portions? They dubbed them in English.
Oh lordy.
The movie had never come out here.
Right.
It's not like the
Huh.
movie came out dubbed and they like took those clips. No, the movie just never came out here. But for some reason, Kamen Rider Zio exists on the Sega CD in the US. And
Okay.
even Black, I think, also came out here. I could swear, Kamen Rider Black, the game. There was a game as well,
Right.
for the not for the disc system. No. Then never mind. That one didn't. It was because I think my uncle had the Zio game for the Sega CD. It was super weird,
Oh.
and he didn't get it. I didn't get it, but I saw it and I was like confused because I saw like I remember the cover from his house years ago. But Ishinomori also worked on a manga adaptation of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I don't know if that's ever made it here to U.S. shores. And also, he worked on a series of, I guess, manga volumes for Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
So he has his own version of Sherlock Holmes, and
Oh shit.
also some
And a
other.
motorcycle too.
I would hope, and some other tokusatsu as well. Ones that you wouldn't know, but I'm actually a big fan of. Things like Robot Keiji, Android Kakaider, Inazuman. These have all been adapted into Japanese superhero shows. So something I want to mention, I know you don't know this. I think we've talked, well, you know some of this, Tristan. We haven't talked about this too much, though. This is off podcast stuff. But the original, I don't know about the original Kamen Rider, but I know that V3, the sequel series that I mentioned before, it actually got subtitled in Honolulu. And it was actually on TV, so you know the time before DVR and streaming and all that. And I don't want to make I don't want to make us seem old because like we're under 30, we're 28. But at the same time though, and I don't want to make people who are listening to this who are maybe like early like 18, 19, or like teenagers who are getting into Toku for the first time. I don't want to make you all seem like you don't understand a world before streaming because like obviously like your parents had tapes, you know but like videotapes. But still though, like it's one of those things where it's interesting to see that in Honolulu in the 70s we were getting subtitled tokusatsu in the US. And also the fact that looking at episode 2, they really had to recap so much from episode 1. Not a crazy amount, but enough that made you go like, oh, if you're streaming this, if you're watching this relatively after soon after the first episode, you're like, yeah, I know this is happening. But I mean, this is a time when if you miss the first episode, I'm not saying reruns never existed, but at a time when if you missed the first episode, there were only so many TV channels in Japan that if you missed it and you heard from some kids on the schoolyard, oh yeah, Kamen Rider is cool, they kind of have to talk to you like, yeah, maybe you missed the first episode. Right. This isn't, oh yeah, I'm going to pause and I'm going to go back a little bit. This isn't, oh yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. I mean, you and I, Tristan, again, I don't want to make it sound old, but you and I grew up before DVR, before streaming. So if we missed an episode of like Dragon Ball Z when it aired, you had to talk to one of your friends and be like, what happened? Internet existed, of course, so but you and I was more internet savvy than you, but even I didn't think, oh, let me look up episode summaries online.
Right, yeah.
I heard about some stuff that was going to happen because I was like, whoa, wait a minute, because obviously in Japan it had ended for years beforehand, but when we got it in the US, but still, I never thought, oh, if I missed an episode, which I miss an episode every now and again, very few times did I miss it when it ran. But when it did, I didn't think, let me go on the internet. Nowadays, if I miss an episode, I'm like, fuck, let me see if it's on a streaming service. Let me see if my DVR got it. Let me see if...
Well, nowadays, when you miss an episode, it's spoiled for you the week before. So you didn't have to watch it. It's fine.
Let me explain something. The episode didn't... The episode didn't come out yet because it had some audio issues, but I'm going to see what I can do and put it out. But... we talked about the latest season of Mandalorian. Dude, I already said this to you already, Tristan, but for everyone else who didn't get the chance to hear it because it's not out yet. The night that the last episode of the season 2, came out was when I learned about some of the shit going on.
Right. Yeah.
Vague references. Then the same day... later on that day, because I think it comes out at it doesn't come out at 8 in the morning, or it doesn't come out when it says it's out on a Friday, it's out sometime in between, it's not 12 a.m.
No, I think it's out pretty early, actually. I'm not exactly sure.
No, but I'm saying it's not 8 a.m., it's before it.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not oh, let me wake up bright and early, bushy-tailed. No, if you're awake Thursday night into Friday morning, you could probably catch the episode.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say, Tristan. So, yeah, people were just spoiling it without a fucking care in the world. So, my point is, through the anger, you're not going to get spoiled, most likely. You're going to want to get spoiled, because you're like, I don't know what happened. I may never see this episode in my life. Tell me what happened so I can get caught up on the series. That's why, the way it's framed, it's every, few minutes, they're like, by the way, if you don't know who the fuck this person is...
If you don't know what the fuck's going on...
No, literally, every few minutes in episode 2, it was by the way, her dad died and he was a professor and he did this. Oh, okay. By the way, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay.
That's the thing for a lot of older series. There were a lot of recaps like that.
Oh, no, but that's what I'm saying. It's just so interesting looking at the times then and now where, now, not only do they not recap a series... I mean, to be fair, they have the recaps in the beginning of the episode if they do, but not only do some series not have recaps, they're by the way, did you read the comic book? What do you mean? Fuck you, that's what I mean. Did you read the comic book? Because you don't understand the whole show unless you read the accompanying comic book, you fucking idiot. And I'm like, I just want to watch the show, man. Taking a swig of sake.
Because that's also what we do here.
Mm-hmm. But just talking about the episodes themselves, the actual plot and whatnot, my question to you is, so, what really stuck out to you? I assume it was the blood getting thrown off the building.
Yeah, definitely the foam effects for when the Spider-Man shot his darts out, too.
Ah, beautiful.
The fact that, a lot of stuff was shot and then they played it in reverse for, the foam effects and everything.
I loved it so much.
Even when the Spider-Man was, jumping up the wall, it's him climbing down it in reverse.
Right, which, yes.
It's funny, I enjoyed looking at these effects and being like, oh, I know how they did that. Oh, that's kind of cool. The fact that, at the time, it's that's what they're working with, and they went with whatever they could do to get it to work.
No, it's cool for multiple reasons. So not only did they do effects like that for Spider-Man, like when they actually did the Japanese Spider-Man show,
Right. Yeah.
which was also created by Toei. They, even though the people who own the rights are Ishinomori Productions, still Toei does work on Kamen Rider. What's very interesting as well is that they also, I think, used similar type effects for the U.S. version of Spider-Man because they did a U.S. TV show
Right.
like in the 70s. I forgot what year, or no, late 60s. We're gonna find out right now. But either way, the effects were what really drew you to it, and I mean Tokusatsu, special effects. There are certain type of special effects that you watch newer film nowadays. Not that they haven't adapted, any kind of CGI in newer Tokusatsu, but still, it's just interesting to see something that you normally would not see on US TV because it looks too phony, and it's just like, no, just let's kind of see some of the weirdness here. Again, it's like very like early classic Who stuff.
Right, exactly. Like I love the effects in the fights when they do, the jump cuts when they jump and they just take the bottom shot, but it's them, flipping through the air and he does, the huge flip and then the finisher when he's, throwing them down. Like it's odd at first, but then you kind of get your mindset into the show itself and you're like, no, this is like I'm hype for this.
Okay, actually, so it was
jump cuts. It's like, yeah, he's gonna do the finisher. Do it.
Well, yeah, that's why, you being someone who's a fan of anime, not everyone we know who's a fan of anime can watch live action stuff like this. We've talked to some people that were like, no, like, if it's not an anime, it just feels like off to me. But I feel like if you're a fan of, anime and you end up being a fan of Godzilla, you could, earlier Godzilla, you can take this. Like, it would be weird if this is where the line is drawn. Granted, Godzilla is, they're movies compared to a television show budget, but I do think that if you find someone who's, a friend of yours who likes earlier Godzilla, 50s and 60s and 70s, it would be interesting if you tried to show them the first, and also earlier Doctor Who as well. I think they could get into something like this, and that's why I think it resonated with you so well, Tristan.
Yeah. And there's something. Oh, the one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of whiplash watching it though was the motorcycle cuts when Hongo is like he's doing that run through the mountains and like the last shot, like they do like 4 or 5 different shots of him to the passage of time, like he's moving down the highway very quickly. But the last one was just him upside down, and I'm like, oh god! And like in 5 seconds, we looked at him in every different which way you could possibly think of, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little bit of whiplash here.
I will admit that was a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was a lot.
Like, oh shit! Calm down, cameraman, please. All I could think of was just like Speed Racer, like ho ha ho.
Well, again, Speed Racer is an anime.
I know,
but like some people out there, I think at this point everyone knows, but it is very interesting how at the time, I feel like a lot of kids growing up with Speed Racer were like, no, that's an American production.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then I apologize to anyone older than us that were like, no, we knew. But, in some, like, something about Speed Racer to me seems very, like, even though a lot of it is exaggerated anime-esque, deja vu stuff, but at the same time, there's something about it, the way that it's animated, that makes you think it seems somewhat American, if you will, if you didn't know. Like, because when it comes to certain anime, if, like, okay, I don't know what anime is, but I know this is different. Like, DBZ, I was like, this is different.
Yeah.
This isn't like that other stuff. So I didn't know it was anime when I first watched it, for the first time. Neither did you.
Right, yeah.
But
knew. I had that same sense of, like, wait, this is not my afternoon Nickelodeon. What's going on?
So then maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but when I saw Speed Racer when I was younger a little bit, it didn't register to me as something anime. Like when I was really young.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure how I don't know how much of Speed Racer I saw when I was a kid. I think by
little.
The time I had seen it, I already knew.
Oh, okay. But I want to talk about American Spider-Man live action. That actually did happen a little bit later from the looks of it. It happened in 1977, where the Japanese live action Spider-Man, just Spider-Man by Toei, If I remember correctly, it looks like that happened years prior, funnily enough. So oh no, that was 78, 79. That's very interesting. So only a year later. So that's so interesting because it ended up, because I've seen pictures. I was under the impression it aired around the same time V3 did, because there's pictures of the two of them hanging out. Like, oh no, like they're posing together for guest spot stuff near the sea and near like a bunch of rocks, looking like they're like fighting together.
Yeah.
So no, it actually came out in Japan a year after the US one did. But V3 came out, let me make sure here that I'm not, because I'm under the impression that V3 came out in 73. Yeah. Very strange. Interesting. No, because at the time there would have been a few Kamen Riders later, because once they got to V3, then they started the 52 episode, 50 episode, like, runtime for every show. So that's very odd that V3 and Spider-Man are just hanging out. Very interesting. Anyway, so back to this specific show, Tristan. Hongo, you were telling me, you were like, he gets it done.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely does.
I love how you just said that. So like, yeah, no, man, I'm just telling you. No, because like behind the scenes, you were just like, all the girls love him. He just shows up, beats a bunch of dudes, and walks away. But it does it in a way that like it's kind of like 15-year-old Hot Topic edgy, but at the same time, it's not like overly. Like, it's weird the way he does it, where he's like, no, I must live a life of solitude. Not because like, oh no, mom. It's kind of like, no, my hands, like, I cannot hold anyone, for I will murder them.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, oh damn, you live a secluded life. And that kind of really sets the tone for Kamen Rider, very much like, hey, listen, I live a life of solitude. I not that no Kamen Rider has ever had friends. It actually gets very silly once we get into the Heisei era, where there's a huge supporting cast of characters and multiple riders, not just two. But the idea of like a Kamen Rider's life is sacrifice. Is something that clearly is inspired by this show.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like the idea, it really gives weight to his line of, I've decided to fight for humanity, or like, I will be Shocker's last victim.
Exactly. And as much as I love something like, Batman, even though he also has a life of solitude, in certain respects, especially with all the money and tools that he has at his disposal, it can come off, I'm not trying to like compare the two. I'm not trying to shit on Batman, because I've loved Batman stuff for years now, ever since I was a kid, but it does kind of frame as like, he's like, oh no, I'm sad. And it's like, you've lost a lot, don't get me wrong, dude, but like, you end up having a Bat family, and you're still kind of like, I'm in my Bat cave. And it's like, bro, you have like 10 people who have Bat in front of their name. Like, you're fine. You're good now. It's been years.
Right.
But with, I don't know, there's something about, depending on the depiction of Batman, depending on which one, it can seem very much like, I'm an edgy teenager with who's sad, versus like Takeshi Hongo, who just seems like it's coming from this desire to like save everyone by really trying not to hurt anyone. Like I feel like Batman would have been like, yeah, I can punch those people in the face. I'm not gonna kill them, but like, they're infected. I have to get away. I'm gonna punch them, right? That's cool.
Yeah, he's like, I can't fight them. They're just caught up in this.
Which again is so. Even though yes, he's saying it because he can't control his punches, a bit like Batman. You're different than Batman can control his punches, but like he's just like, look, I can't control my punches. If I throw one punch, their head's gonna go clean off.
Right, and he backflips out the window. I'm like, all right.
and because of, and this is something that they kind of drop later on, but the wind turbine in his belt. It's not about, oh, let me do a transformation pose to look cool. It's, hey, the wind turbine in my belt. Very much like Back to the Future. It's like, look, I have to get fast enough to have this thing turn. And once I do, then I can transform into Kamen Rider. So it's just so funny how he's like, look, I can't defeat them. And also I can kill two birds with one stone here. Let me jump out a window. What? Run that by me again?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of interesting because like he's already been modified. He is the cyborg, so his body is always in like fight mode, isn't it?
Not necessarily. I would argue he's stronger as Kamen Rider, but at this point he is, as a cyborg, he is stronger than Human Man.
Right, okay.
So like think of the androids from Dragon Ball Z, 16, 17, and 18. They can still go, ha, but they at all times are cyborgs though.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right? Or am I? Because not 16. 16 is full robot, but 17 and
Yeah.
18 are
Yes.
supposed to be.
Cyborgs. A
Yes.
16 is the android.
Yes. And so yeah, and so being a cyborg, it's like no, you. And again, they were very interested in being like, by the way, we're just gonna fucking like, wipe your mind. And in very Kamen Rider fashion, as the Showa series goes on. By the way, I say Showa, Tristan, because of the emperor at the time, the Showa, era of Japan. Then after
Right.
that was the Heisei, and then currently now, starting from 2019, I forgot which point in 2019 until now, it is the Reiwa era.
Right.
However, the Emperor is not Showa, Heisei, or Reiwa, which is odd. The Emperor themselves is something else, but then they declare the era
Right.
as whatever era. I don't know too much about the naming schemes. I just know about them in relation to Kamen Rider. Legit though, because the Showa era ended. Even though technically Heisei started in the middle of Kamen Rider Black RX, we don't talk about that. So, and even though the movies happened during the Heisei era, we don't talk about that. Everyone says Heisei starts during Kuga, which is like not really, because those three movies, J, Zio, and Kamen Rider Shin, started in the 90s during the Heisei era. But we don't talk about that, Tristan. That's like Tristan with Dragon Ball Evolution, everyone. We just don't talk about it. Not that those three movies were bad, but again, as far as...
That's for very different reasons, though.
For very different reasons, but it's like the Doctor Who movie. We don't talk about that. Until all of a sudden, like, McGann got, that doctor from the Doctor Who movie immediately started getting some BBC, the audio dramas, and now he's a good doctor, so fuck.
Yeah, big finish. I mean...
Oops. Now apparently we talk about that, Tristan.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I liked McGann, but...
It was the story around him.
Yeah.
That had some issues, to say the least. But no, yeah. So when it comes to but all jokes aside, though, talking about Takeshi Hongo, it's just his character and his sacrifice. It's just something beautiful to see in an era of superheroes in the U.S. who very much, not that they aren't willing to lay down their life, but it needs to be a major franchise, so they can't.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Kamen Rider, this first Kamen Rider, that he dies, that he never shows up again. No, of course you always have cameos from him. The same actor, by the way, which I love. The actor who ended up going on to play Sega Sanshiro, the Sega mascot for the Sega Saturn. Sanshiro.
Right. Oh.
He's the same actor.
Oh, okay. Shit.
I know, fucking hilarious, right? That you're like, wait, is Matt seriously telling me? Oh God.
Yeah, I had to I had to conceptualize that for a second.
Mm. But the point though is that it's not, even though yes the character is still around, but at the time it's just nice to, I feel nice, even though knowing that in retrospect this is a franchise, but starting off at the ground level, because when you're watching a superhero show, not that I'm thinking that Kamen Rider is going to get murdered in episode 2 or episode 1, but it's still nice to have him be like, I'm going to sacrifice myself and do anything I can, instead of it kind of being a bit more like, hey, I'm a hero, and everyone, like, it's very much like no one must see me. I must do this, even though he does it in broad daylight. It's very much kind of like I must do this in the shadows kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Humanity must not know of this. Whereas in Sentai, even if they're very much like, not public, they're still like in the middle of the city. They're fucking transforming with their giant ass robot.
Right.
And I love Sentai, by the way, so don't get me wrong, everyone. We'll talk about Sentai, on TokuSake one day. But it's just nice to see something that, in my opinion, is different,
right,
compared to some more, very happy, fun. Because I love happy, fun Toku. The world is too sad and scary. Let's have some fun. But like every now and again, it's great to be able to watch something like this and to really like feel like, wow, it's him against the world, but it really makes you want to root for him.
Right. It's funny. It's interesting. I think, what was the last Kamen that we watched?
You mean for Tokusake or just in general?
I think it was just... Oh, no. I guess it was Yeah, it was Kuga for.
Well, no, for Tokusake, yeah, it was Kuga.
Yeah, with the younger kid on the bike. Like he was he was juggling for the kid like at one point to like
Yes,
make him smile.
yes.
Yeah, like I feel
Well, no, they're
like
both around the same age. They're both in their 20s.
yeah.
Kuga,
Well, no, it was a kid at like a train station, and he was like,
no, no, no.
like
He was juggling for the young child, but I thought Yusuke and Kuga and Takeshi
yeah,
Hongo in this Kamen Rider, they're both the
yeah,
same
they
age.
are both of the same age. Yes.
Yeah,
No, I what I meant to say is that um Yusuke is kind of like that likable guy. He's like
and
he
you need that sometimes. But
right. He's that likable guy. He's a bit quirky, like somebody like uh I think even the officer had said it's like you're an odd one, aren't you? Like you
mm-hmm,
don't make friends easily, do you? He's like, oh, that's insulting. Like I'm a very cheerful man. Of course, people like me.
a bit like the Doctor.
Yeah.
It's
Um.
the Doctor and the Brigadier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um. But then Hongo is more of he's the like he was a successful biology student. He's a motocross expert. He has a lot going on. He is kind of almost like the Bruce Wayne of comic. Like he's got a lot going for him.
But he's
But
not. Well, yeah. So that's fair. I meant Bruce Wayne. Like you have all this money, and you're just like,
yeah, no. Like not
yeah.
money wise, but like
Mm.
you know,
He's. I would
like
argue he's more of a James Bond type.
right. He has a different archetype, is what I mean for like
Mm-hmm.
character. Like you look at him and like like for like we got an actor in the '70s. It's like yes, he is a good looking man, and we will have him as our lead role.
Yes, and well, because it's always interesting. The reason why I talked to you before we began the episode about how good looking he is because it's funny how nowadays people you have these dudes who are like, oh, Kamen Rider nowadays they're all like pretty boys, and it's just like, oh yeah, because Takeshi Hongo is a fucking slouch, right?
Yeah, right. Like he's like the epitome.
Yeah, no, like he isn't just some poor schlub on the street that they're like, yeah, no, he's
Yeah,
disgusting. It's just like, no,
right.
no, no,
To
he's
augment him, like no one will miss you.
no, he's the pretty boy of that specific time. Like it's a different style of pretty boy, yes.
Exactly. He's a different style of hero, but and it,
Well, no, specifically just on his looks here. He's a specific style of pretty boy, but he's still a pretty boy nonetheless.
yeah,
Like, he's not like some like rugged like no, he's an actor that's meant to get the people watching at the time, specifically housewives, to be watching with their kids. Kamen Rider traditionally, this is a traditional thing from the 70s even till now. They try to get in not just the kids with the action figures and the merch and the action, but they want the adults to watch because hey, look, pretty people.
right, yeah,
Literally, they've done this for years now. And you watch the show and you're like, right, yeah, they're fucking gorgeous. Doesn't matter what gender, you're fucking gorgeous. Because they're trying to bring in the adults to watch with their kids.
right, yeah,
Now, in this case, though, I do think, and also they have an, depending on the Kamen Rider show, they have an engaging storyline too. But they try to bring in like these attractive young pretty boys, and in this case, this is one of them.
yeah. I'll say it almost feels like a JoJo comparison. It's like a Jonathan, it's like Jonathan Joestar to like Josuke Joestar.
Yes. Slimmed down considerably, actually, which I mean, to be fair, it's not like Hongo is like ripped, but
No, right,
but that's a good point there, actually. But what I wanted to say though was, when I said before about the newer Kamen Rider, it's hilarious that you're like, yeah, Kuga, the newer one. It's like Tristan, that's 21 years old. I'm talking about like the last few years of Rider, have been a bit.
I had to make a comparison to. I'm sorry.
I know you have nothing else to make a comparison to. I am sorry. It's okay. It's just I was referring to so the last like let's say 5 years of Rider. You can even go a little bit longer than that, but like that's 5 years of Rider. It's been a bit more. Like, don't get me wrong. There's some shows like Gaim. I'm like, wow, that hits me emotionally. But usually it's trying to be a bit more chill compared to the 1971 Kamen Rider. So it's interesting just how even as a kids show, it sort of changed. How it because I would argue from what I remember from even just from this original series, they don't have the blood every episode.
Right.
They tone some of that down. I mean, even just having humans as the ones that are, you know, getting beaten up by Shocker. If you want to argue that they're humans, they have the makeup on, but you can assume that they're human. They end up getting replaced by a little bit, maybe like 16 to 20 episodes in the series. They end up getting replaced by the Mexican branch, who end up looking like luchadors, lucha libre style, which are the Shocker grunts that we all know and love. And love only because like they've kind of become a running joke, because it's like they're nothing, they're just random grunts that are running around. Much different than like the monsters, where you're like, oh god, like your name is like ludicrously evil. And oh no, I mean like you'll have like Dr. Shinigami.
Oh my god.
Oh dude, you want me to go farther? This is not a joke name, this is a real name. This is so ludicrously evil. It's okay if you laugh, but like prepare yourself, okay?
Okay.
Starfish Hitler.
No.
I swear to Jesus.
You're fucking with me.
I'm not fucking with you.
No, I don't believe you. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna send you a picture of Starfish Hitler.
I feel like I have to not believe you on principle for that one. I want to believe you because you're my friend and you wouldn't lie to me, but like I can't.
He literally looks like Hitler, this piece of shit.
That's not his name though, right?
His name is Starfish Hitler. Starfish dash Hitler. Oh, you thought I was just saying a description of him.
Yeah, I thought you were oh no.
Dude, he looks like if Hitler, and we should all picture this because fuck Hitler. It looks like if Hitler was fucking a starfish, and this is his child.
Jesus Christ.
That's what Hitler said while he was fucking the starfish.
I was gonna say Shocker's just like, alright, hear me out. But what if the scientists are like, have you gone off your rocker? Like, yeah, okay, Spider-Man, Batman, Scorpion Man, like we were following a thing, like, okay, but like this?
Oh, well, no. He's not from the first Kamen Rider. He's from Kamen Rider X, which was a few years down the line. He's not, like, from this show.
So they had gone through all the animals of the night that they could be like, what can we make the monster of week this time? What if we took the worst person from history and mixed them with a weird animal?
Well, first of all, they're Nazis. They did not think of him as the worst person.
Well, obviously they didn't know, but...
I'm trying to send you Starfish Hitler. That's a sentence. Alright, there we go. You've been sent a picture of Starfish Hitler.
But here we are. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, this piece of shit.
What in the fuck?
So, yeah, again, anyone who is like, no. Like, there are people out there, Tristan, just this past month that we're recording this, that were like, Kamen Rider is not, like, Shocker is not based on Nazis.
Well,
bruh.
The proof is in the starfish.
That is something I want to remember till my grave, that sentence. I want to be in a hospital somewhere. My kids are like, Grandpa, you want to tell us something? The proof is in the starfish. And they're trying to ask people that I knew who didn't die yet, what does that mean? And yeah, they call you.
Yeah, Matt, Grandpa Matt told us to ask Uncle Tristan what this meant. I just dig. I'm like, I have to show you this image. I don't know why those were his parting words to you, but here it is.
I've drank a bit too much sake. I don't remember why I initially sent you this picture. What was the point? But
I pull out a bottle of Fuji apple flavored sake and just look at your grandchildren and be like, I don't know why this was your grandfather's parting wisdom, but you're gonna learn today.
You know, on camera, we can hear you on mic. We can hear you opening up the fucking sake. Headphone users can hear you opening up your sake.
You like those sounds? You like nice, glass? Okay.
At first I was nervous. I was like, why is he saying it that way? And then I realized he was doing ASMR, and I'm like, that's not making your case any better, Tristan.
All right, you listen to me.
Everything you say about ASMR, and you're like, hey, do you like clack, clack, clack? All right, anyway, so I want to talk about not just Kamen Rider, but also, because when you and I were talking about this being the first Kamen Rider, even though you didn't say it, I was thinking, like, maybe he's under the impression this is, like, the first Japanese superhero, because arguably, Godzilla is not the first Japanese superhero. He's an atomic horror. So he's not, So he's not like, just because later on he came around as like, oh yeah, yay, Godzilla.
Right.
In 55, he wasn't the first hero.
No.
Now,
Godzilla, the first Avenger. But before he was the Avenger, he was the Destroyer.
so arguably the first hero here is actually Moonlight Mask, also known as Gecko Kamen. And what's hilarious, Tristan, is you probably know, like, not Gecko Kamen because, you know, he came out in 58 on the TV. Allegedly, people bought TVs because of him, because like kids would gather around their friends' houses to watch Gecko Kamen on TV. I do believe that's a little bit of like urban legend. I don't believe that's been proven. So I feel like that's something that may have been disproven over the years. But I remember hearing that a while back because again, this came out in 58. He was not in color.
Nice.
And what's very interesting is they wrote the show in a way where they were like they didn't know who Moonlight Mask was. Like even you, the viewer.
Huh.
So you were like you would be like, wait, is it this guy? Like who is Moonlight Mask? Like you could assume, oh yeah, it's clearly him, but you never showed like a transformation sequence.
Oh. Huh.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Point though is that you've probably seen him parodied in Kekko Kamen, which I'll talk about that in a fucking second, and Moonlight Knight from Sailor Moon.
Oh, well then.
Yes. So I don't know who that is. That's a tuxedo mask. Like another, like how Master Roshi had Jackie Chun.
Right.
That's another alias of fucking. That's fucking hilarious.
Well, there you go.
No, it's just because he also looks like him too. Like, because Moonlight Mask, Gecko Kamen had a rather like Arabian theme to him. So like anyone watching is like, bro, why does he have like a turban and a mask over his face and like a cape? And like now I could like, because I have some friends that I could tell them, be like, I know you're a fan of Sailor Moon. Funny story. That's a reference to a character from the 50s.
That sounds about right.
And they're like, what? So that'll be funny once I can start seeing some of my friends in real life again.
Hey.
Anyway, so what's interesting about Kekko Kamen, the reason why I was like, oh god. So Kekko Kamen is a parody by Go Nagai. Go Nagai, a huge fan of Tokusatsu, he also created Cutie Honey. Actually, have you ever heard of Cutie Honey or no?
It doesn't ring any bells.
Wow, what the fuck? Anyway, so he
All right.
also created. No, it's fine. I'll judge you.
I'll judge you later.
No one else. Please, nobody else judge Tristan. That's my job. He also created Mazinger, Devilman, and Getter Robo. Maybe you fucking heard of those. Devilman? Devilman Crybaby on Netflix? That's the new one.
Oh, okay.
Wow, what a piece of shit.
Maybe. I was thinking Devilman from Dragon Ball, but you know.
Wouldn't be surprised if that's a reference to his Devilman.
I wouldn't be either.
Because his Devilman came out in the 70s, am I correct? Yes, 72. And Cutie Honey, his Cutie Honey initially came out in 73. Cutie Honey, she was an android, and she was very much like a 70s pop fashion icon, but, you know, like in her styles. But she was an android. They made a live-action version of Cutie Honey, and I think I showed you some amazing fight scenes from it from Mark Musashi, a half Japanese, half Russian guy who did some amazing... Yeah. So I've shown you that. But we've never watched, like, I've never shown you, like, an episode of Cutie Honey. It's been years since I've seen it. And there's anime versions of it as well.
Yeah, like, I might have seen the manga here and there, maybe, but...
Yeah, probably. But the thing with Kekko Kamen, which is, again, is a parody by Go Nagai. So Gecko Kamen's whole thing was, like, I will not just cover my face, I will cover all of me. Like, you even, like... So here's what's funny. Remember Gohan with the sunglasses and the turban on his head?
Yeah, right.
That's a Gecko Kamen reference.
Right.
So see, it's everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Even Great Saiyaman, I would argue, is a Kamen Rider reference.
Well, yeah, like I've done how many casts with you where you've said, oh, that's a Kamen Rider reference. That's a Kamen Rider reference, like every time, and I'm like, yeah, we're watching it, we're here it is, and you're like, no, actually, it's a Gecko Kamen reference.
Swear to fucking Jeebus. Look, I mean, it's not a...
Who's a long listener, go back through our Dragon Ball Z podcast and look and see times Matt refers to Gohan.
Yeah, you're referring to the movies, and specifically that version of Gohan was in like Fusion Reborn.
Yes.
So that one, you'll find me talking about Kamen Rider and not Gecko Kamen because I never have seen Gecko Kamen, so usually Kamen Rider is the first one that comes to me. So, although again in the tournament that's clearly Gecko Kamen because of the sunglasses, because even Gecko Kamen like has like he's trying to cover his whole damn face.
Right.
Now, Gecko Kamen as a parody is like actually I will cover my face and I'll have the cape and I'll have the turban type, but I will not be wearing anything else. It's a raunchy parody. So she is completely nude, other than the boots, the cape, the red mask, the scarf.
Oh. Okay.
So you may have seen this somewhere because in the 90s, like, no, because there were OVAs about this. So, like, it was somewhat popular. So, like, you may have somehow stumbled upon this and been like, what the fuck? Like, in the 2000s or 2010s.
I don't believe I have.
Okay, so then he probably repressed it.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Anyway, and oddly enough, Gecko Kamen. We have to be very specific here, not Kekko Kamen. Gecko Kamen had a like a cameo type, like not parody, but an homage in Yokai Watch.
Oh,
that's why I said you have to be specific. Gecko.
How did they get away with that one?
That's why I'm being very fucking particular with my geckos and geckos here.
Right, got it.
Very specific. But back to Kamen Rider 1971. No, yeah, it's just, it really resonated, and it makes sense why kids just ate this shit up. I mean, dude, if you saw this as a kid, you would have been in fucking love.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I grew up on Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that, certain seasons of Power Rangers don't hold up and other ones, you go, oh no, like this is funny and this is nice. But, I'm not trying to, be like, oh, Power Rangers sucks. I don't want to be like one of those, fans who like, you're talking about Toku and you're like, yeah, this is the real shit. Fuck Power Rangers. Like, I don't want to do that. But, like, this just hits different. Like I said earlier.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's definitely there's a bit of a darker vibe.
And it's not even the darkness that I like. It's that it feels like there's just higher stakes. Where even though Rita's like, I want to take over the world too, for some reason the stakes are so much lower every time, and I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know what it is. Like, it's, I mean, maybe it's just the way everyone reacts to the situation, how chill everyone else is about everything. Like, even when they're like, oh no, Rita's attacking the city, they're like, all right, let's go do something.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like here, where it's just like, wait, shocker? Oh no, they're going to murder every single one of these people in this apartment complex.
Power Rangers. All right, everybody, it's morphin' time. Kamen Rider kicks the stand off his bike, revs the engine. Time to knock some motherfuckers into the pavement.
That's kind of what it is. Like, the Power Rangers are like, wow, let's beat up one of Rita's monsters. And Kamen Rider, Takeshi Hongo is like, get your Nazi scalps here. Get some fucking Nazi scalps. So before we move on to the sake, anything else you want to say about the episodes in question? Obviously, you liked them. Which one did you like more? I think that personally, as much as, the first series is the granddaddy of them all, I do think that episode 2 actually drew me in a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too.
So yeah, for me, I think it's just because of, even though the virus thing is like, oh no, but I do think the vampire bat stuff was a bit more interesting than some of the spider stuff. The effects were still nice though, like what they could do with the spider, the foam and just everything else. And especially, having her dad get hanged while Hongo is just kind of looking away. Right. Like, you had this tension of like, oh no, come on, turn around. You want to scream at your screen.
Yeah.
But I will admit that was nice. But in episode 2, just the whole like hiding in plain sight part of it, like, oh, they're, you don't know who's infected, and finally, thank God, she realizes, oh, Hongo is not actually a bad guy. But even then, he's like, look, I have to fight. Like, in his mind, he's like, I can destroy Shocker in a day. He's like, I got to get this done, not knowing that it will take 96 more episodes.
Little did he know he would not. He would indeed not destroy Shocker in a day.
But he's like, look, I got to do what I can. He's not fucking around. The kids in in other shows, in any other show, they're like, oh well, like you can, like, I don't know why. There's something about other shows you could picture them being like, oh, I got to go to bed for the night, and then Rita and other villains, and not Power Ranger things, just in general, other villains being like, all right, got to go to bed for the night. It just feels like Kamen Rider and Shocker are both constantly working to do what they need to do. There is never any rest or relaxation. It's like, we gotta fucking do this shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I kind of enjoy with the pacing of this series and the way these characters are. Because, it's just so... It really makes you feel like, oh shit, the world is in danger. Everything is in danger. We need Kamen Rider. Fuck.
Yeah. It's like, what's Shocker doing this week? Oh, well, we got... Look at what we got for you this fucking week. We got a fucking virus from a bat that turns people to... All right, I'm going to stop you right there. What the fuck? Can I not get a weekend or a night where I fucking sleep? Jesus Christ.
Pretty much.
Even the fact it's like, even after they killed the doctor, they're like, oh, you're his daughter? Ha! Well, we already killed him, but you get to die too. Wait, what? Why do you care about me? Oh, we just want you to suffer, that's all.
Yeah, no, like, every now and again, and especially it's always easy when you make a story and the villains are Nazis. Every now and again, you're like, look, I just want bad guy villains. Like, there's nothing wrong with having villains who can be redeemed, who are a little funny. There's nothing wrong with that. But every now and again, you're like, look, I want a bad guy who I can fucking hate.
Right, yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear about...
It's nice. Bad guy that you love to hate sometimes.
Yes, like, I don't want to see the little red dot, and I know what the Grand Leader actually looks like, but in this case we don't know what he looks like yet. No, that's his real moniker.
Right.
The Grand Leader of Shocker. I think it's the Grand Leader. Is it? I don't remember. But what I do remember, I've had a little bit too much, but what I do remember is that while I do know what he looks like, I'm just saying that, I don't want to hear about the little red dot's backstory about how, his parents were redder dots and they were like, you gotta be a redder dot. I don't want to fucking hear about any of that. I just want to hate these characters and see Kamen Rider be like, I'm gonna fucking murder you. You said something really funny to me pre-podcast. You were like, you said he can't hold on to anyone, but then he held on to her in the first episode. And I was like, but also go fuck yourself. How you consider that one in your fucking fan theories? No, but it was a good one.
Now on the other foot, I am the one being skeptical of the show that you love, Matt. How the tables have turned.
Instead of it me being about Star Wars or something.
All right, you listen here.
No, I'm saying instead of me being skeptical of your Star Wars is what I'm saying. Anyway, so let's talk about our sake before me has too much. Would you like to start with yours?
Sure. Yeah, so for this time around, I actually just saw this recently in the shop where I've been picking up my sake. It is a flavored sake, you might be surprised to find out.
We both have flavored stuff.
Right. Yeah, I usually don't go for flavored sakes, but I saw that this one was Fuji apple flavored, and I saw that, and I'm like, oh my.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, I'm like, I cannot turn this down.
You said, oh my. Is it also a Junmai? Or? Well, because mine is.
Yes. No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
This is Hana brand. So Hana sake is a premium sake with refreshing fruit flavors.
I'm keeping it.
Contains no preservatives. This wonderful blend of delicious fruit flavors makes Hana sake a delightful drink for all occasions, served chilled or on the rocks. The only thing useful out of that blurb was served chilled or on the rocks. Thank you, Hana sake.
Yeah, because usually, the ones that we've had before, they're like, actually have it with some fucking salmon. And I'm like, damn, you're just giving me meal plans? Thanks.
Yeah. Usually they go into like the brewing process or something like that, but this one's just like, yeah, it's flavored. Enjoy. I'm like, all right, that's all right.
I have a few up myself because I was like, this one is insufficient.
But yeah, it is only 8% alcohol, so it is much lower than your usual brand of just straight sake. But it is indeed nice chilled. I've had it both room temperature and chilled. Chilled is definitely the way to go, although room temperature is fine. And it does have a very, very nice apple flavor to it. Like, I know we've talked about some of the ones you've had, Matt, like they mention it being like a dessert drink. Like, this definitely feels like a dessert drink to me as well.
And I think that's awesome because it's also good for people, people, quite frankly, like my mom, who are like, I like sweeter stuff, but, if we get like, because we usually get very cheap sake, so if we get cheap, unflavored sake, usually she's like, it burns. And I'm like, it does. But she doesn't like the burn.
Right. Yeah.
So getting something flavored like the one that I got, which I'll talk about obviously after yours, like getting Fujiwara apple, that sounds like something my mom would love, and quite frankly, I would too because the burn's nice, but it's not like I don't want to taste something. So having some flavored sake, I think would be great as well. Now, how much did that one in particular cost?
Brr, 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 brr. Huh.
I don't work in that currency. I know some that do, but
I believe it was about 20 once again.
oh, that's not bad.
Maybe like 24, something like that.
No, either way, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's a bit of a smaller bottle than what I've been getting, so it's a little bit more on the pricey side, but it was worth it. I definitely say that. If you're looking for something that's very light, very nice flavor, like I said, like a dessert drink, I would definitely recommend it. If you're looking for something that's harder, you would definitely want to look elsewhere. But if you just want to have a nice time and have something that tastes nice and flowery, holy crap, yeah,
So
definitely.
you said 8%. You said alcohol.
Yeah, 8%.
All right. Now my question to you is, so is it big enough? You said it was smaller than what you usually get, but is it big enough for two people, or is it really more of a lonely person have a good time kind of drink?
Well, no, no, this is definitely a bottle you could share with people.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because I have one. Moving on to mine, that is not good for two people. Granted, it was cheap. It was only 9.50, so it was under 10, which was nice. But it definitely is small enough that I think after you and someone else have a few small glasses, you're gonna be like, "Oh, damn, we ran out." But it is fruity. I really do enjoy it. It's actually Shochikubai Premium Ginjo Sake. Now, question though, when you said that 8% is too little, how like 15% alcohol, is that
Well,
too much? Or
I didn't say too little. I said lower than what I'm used to.
to me that makes me think too little, but what I'm saying is minus 15%, is that high, low?
Podcast, Matt, do you have to?
Look, all I'm trying to say, man, I'm not trying to call you out on the podcast, it's just, is 8, like, putting 8% aside, minus 15%, is that more or less? Is that like around normal, or is that
I mean, from what I'm used to, like 12 to 15, that's a normal. Like,
okay? Okay. So, yeah, this one on the back here, it says delicate, silky smooth, and dry with fruity aroma. And I have to say, it really is fruity. Like, it's again, my mom loved it. It's not, I can't pick out like what fruit specifically, which is odd. It's
mm,
just like a general taste where you're like, it's like you don't really taste the burning sensation.
right,
Like it goes down smoother. It's not as smooth as that other one that we had like 2 episodes ago. It was in November. I was like, damn, this is smooth.
right.
It wasn't like that, but still though, it's a lot smoother than I thought it would be. It's beautiful. Even the design of the artwork on the outside, it has like a nice little like flower design. It's pink, but
Oh,
it's smaller
no.
though.
Huh, I wonder if it's like a cherry blossom, maybe.
It looks like a cherry blossom. Yes, thank you for saying that. Yes.
Even the flavor itself, maybe it's infused with like cherry blossom.
Well, looking at the website right here, it says that this dry, delicate, and fruity sake features a smooth, silky texture tinged with aromas and flavors of pear, melon, honeysuckle, custard, and nutmeg, which is definitely why I couldn't pick just one.
Right, well, yeah, there you go.
And it says that the finish is clean and refreshing with an emerging taste of lightly salted fruit. And quite frankly, that's also how I describe myself. Um, I've had women tell me that exact same thing, and I've been like, wow, thank you. You're so kind.
as he rides off on his motorcycle.
And they and others have also said that this sake about me, this sake is compared to Pinot Blanc of medium bodied, fruity, and soft. And I'm all of those things. Yes, thank you.
And then he rides off into the sunset.
It's just such a fucking stupid joke that keeps on making itself. So yeah, so looking online, it says that this is $8.25. Shipping might make this a bit of a pain. So again, getting it at your local liquor store, for me personally, it was about like $9.50 to $10. So it was very, again, a bit too small for my liking, but in a general sense, though, I think very, very cheap, very good for someone who just, you don't want to mix it with anything else. I ended up having this. So did you, when you drank yours, not for this episode, but like in a general sense, did you actually pair it with any meals that you found to be good? Because my meal that I paired this with was not one that I would always recommend. Not against the sake, just I feel like an uncultured swine. So in your case, though, did you pair this with anything in particular, like with your dinner?
It's funny. I had it after my dinner, but it's not something that I would have paired with the sake.
Oh, okay. So my dinner, I would have paired it with the sake if I drank it around dinner, but I had dinner a bit earlier. I knew we were doing this podcast a bit later. I wanted to be clear
Right.
of sound mind. So I had salmon with like soft salmon, a little garlicky with
Yeah.
some pasta with some red, some red meat type pasta. That would have been wonderful with this sake. What I actually ended up pairing with this sake was a fucking dollar bag of cheese doodles. And they were
Oh,
crunchy and salty.
oh.
And don't get me wrong, it's not that it made the sake taste worse. I just didn't feel right doing it. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. Your feeling was correct. Your gut feeling was
And
correct.
it's not all potato chips. Just those in particular are good, just not paired with this specific sake.
Yeah, no, like you don't. What are you doing, man? You don't have sake with cheese doodles.
No. It's not even. No, I think you do, but not a fruity aroma type sake
That's true.
where they're
Yeah,
like
no.
pear, melon, honeysuckle, custard, nutmeg, and cheese doodles.
It's like
You know?
it's like Captain Planet, but the last kid is just like completely high out of his mind. It's like, whoa. We in the Planeteers do not endorse drug use.
Come on,
We
man. It's from the planet.
Yes,
It's
for
natural, man.
it's all natural.
Captain Planet, he's a hero because of Greg. He's fucking high as a kite. Well, because they all fused together. So literally, Greg made Captain Planet high as a kite.
Well, there you go.
Fucking Greg. But I would say that if you're having anything, maybe have some sweeter snacks. Maybe at best something salty and sweet. Like chocolate pretzels, perhaps.
Right.
But nothing that's like just primo salt only, because when you do that, this isn't sweet enough to combat that salt. That's the thing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's sweet, yes, but it isn't candy. Like there was like I remember when I had I wish I could remember the name off the top of my head, but it was because we do these every month, so it's literally months past, and I'm not the sake guy. So if you go back either last episode or the episode before, I remember I was off my rocker because I was drinking so much of this, and I was like, wow, so good, whatever that bottle of sake was. Because it was very sweet, it was so easy to go down. Might have even been the first episode with Kuga, honestly, but
Yeah.
it was so easy to go down. That was like candy. This is better, don't get me wrong. Like it's better than like your standard typical like, oh no, this burns, I need to mix it with something else type of sake. But it definitely, is not something that you would end up having with a salty snack, in my opinion, to like offset sweet with salty. No.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
that's something like I said before, like something like what you have right now would probably be as a dessert or paired with like a lighter fish flavor. Like I think salmon is more like a heavier body fish taste. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's
No. I think you're right. Thing is that I think that with the garlic and the salmon, I think I would have enjoyed this better. Again, I'm only comparing it to cheese doodles that are crunchy.
Right. Yeah. True.
So when I compare the two, I'm like, I think I should have taken the salmon and the and the pasta. But again, a little bit too early in the day for me. I'm a lightweight, so I don't want to do that too early. But so I recommend mine, and you would recommend yours as well.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So not only do we recommend the Kamen Rider, we recommend the sakes. And I want to mention, speaking of Kamen Rider, Tristan and I saw this on Tubi TV. I believe it's also available because it's legally available. This is something that's mind blowing to me. This Kamen Rider just came out, I believe, last year, legally available on streaming services. And if not in 2019, late 2019, it's been 2020 has been a very strange year, so I'm not sure. But what I do know is that as someone who's been a Kamen Rider fan since 2009. So after you and I met Tristan, but I eventually, became a fan. And then when I told you about this, you were like, "All right, sure, whatever." Because well, no, because if I was a fan when we first met, you would have been like, "Oh, nice, interesting." But like because we had met, then we didn't talk for a bit. Then we started talking again, and I'm like, "Man, these Japanese superheroes," and you're like, "All right, cool."
Right.
It was just a weird thing that I came back with after college. You're just like, all right, I don't know what college you went to, but all right. So, because you and I met in high school, for anyone that doesn't know. So, when it comes to Kamen Rider being legally available in the U.S., mind blowing to me, and for free, because Tubi TV is free. It just has ads on it. And by the way, I think we've mentioned this in the past. If not, I'll mention it now. This is not an ad. This is just because we watched it legally and it's a very small fan base. So if you're watching this and for some reason you don't know that it's available there, I don't know, however you've watched Kamen Rider, you can watch it there and support Kamen Rider in the West. So
Right.
something else, by the way, is that it's the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider, I believe. And so Toei actually has it on there, the first two episodes, I believe, with English subtitles on their Toei YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
It's called Tokusatsu World, which in the future we'll be looking at some, Toei Tokusatsu on there. I was thinking of like doing in the future, not for like next month, but in a general sense, or maybe it is next month. I don't know, but I know in a general sense I wanted to do the Shin Kamen Rider movie because it was initially the only Kamen Rider show or movie on product on Toei's YouTube channel, which is I believe Tokusatsu World. And so it'll be linked in the description box down below. So I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, that we could eventually do that one day. I want to talk about at least the first two Kamen Riders that were legally available. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're like, by the way, for the 50th anniversary, we're going to put some Kamen Rider on there. And not only do they have the first two episodes of Kamen Rider 1, they also have the first episode or two episodes of Ryuki from 2002. That's the first time that's ever been legally available either. So they're not putting the entire shows on their channel, but just to kind of a hey, we want to celebrate Kamen Rider and and the history of it. They're putting select episodes on the channel with subtitles. So so you could also watch the first two episodes there, but the whole series is available on Tubi TV or on Shout Factory for free and their Tokusatsu website. So I'm just very excited to see these shows come to the U.S. Again, Tristan,
Oh, yeah.
it's one of those things where anime obviously has had its issues throughout the years of really coming to the U.S. and flourishing, but I would argue when we were watching in the 90s, even though it was new to us, it was still well known. I mean, you had Gigantor, you had Astro Boy in the US, you had Speed Racer, you had Harlock. People knew what anime was before, when we were not even born, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But Tokusatsu, I would argue, has had a very strange history in the US because after those Honolulu subs, other than Power Rangers, you didn't get official, you got official, obviously, Godzilla, you had some Ultraman, but I'm talking about Kamen Rider Super Sentai. You didn't really have much going on the grounds of legal, streamable DVD, VHS, Tokusatsu.
Right.
And now we have a bunch of Super Sentai on DVD and also on Tubi. And now we have on Tubi TV, we have the 1971 and 2000 Kuga series.
Right.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
just it's so beautiful to see, and hopefully more Kamen Rider come through either Shout Factory or some other company or service in the future. So either way, though, Tristan, we're gonna wrap this one up. Anything you want to say about these two episodes before we wrap this one up, other than the obvious? We recommend watch the show.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to try and jump in on it at some point. And like you said, it's on Tubi, so I could check it out anytime.
That's what
Um,
really gets me is that it's free. Because like
yeah,
I'd understand if they were like, no, it's on like an HBO Max situation
right.
and you have to pay
Yeah,
like 15 a month. I'd be like, and I'd pay it. But the fact that it's just free with ads, I'm like, oh fuck.
yeah.
Also the fact that like
Even I know like that's big.
yeah, or like it's just like it's big for accessibility, because like they could make more money by putting it on a service just to pay for it, but then like it's about trying to get people to see it too, because like obviously you have the fans for years that have been supporting it, but you want people like you, Tristan, to be able to watch it.
Yeah,
And other than like maybe Godzilla versus King Kong, you're not really gonna get HBO Max or another streaming service. You already have your Disney Plus, you have your Netflix, you're fine.
yeah.
So either way, love you all. Take care. Check out our socials in the comments or in the description box down below. And follow us on Twitter at Those Guys Radio to find updates on all the different fun stuff that we do. Speaking of Godzilla vs. Kong, we will be trying to do that for Friday night movies, not for TokuSake, when that does come out, because we've also talked about Godzilla and King Kong movies in the past over at our Those Guys on the Radio YouTube channel, but you most likely are listening to this through our Podbean, which is also Those Guys on the Radio, where those podcasts are available. And I mean, we haven't talked about every single, Shawa Heisei's Godzilla movie, but when it comes to the U.S. Godzilla movies and the U.S. King Kong movies, at least all of the U.S. Godzilla movies, and when it comes to King Kong, a fair amount of them, especially Skull Island, which we had some very fun things to say on that as well. So, love you all. Take care. Tune in next time. See ya.
Rider, sake, rider.